Welcome back, true believers, and all you spectacular Spidey fans, as well as all you hardcore DC fans out there, to another very interesting video. And yes, you did hear me correctly, is that for today's topic, it pretty much consists of a 2-for-1 variety pack relating to both Marvel and DC, but mainly for this channel, since my main subject that I love to discuss overall out of everything else mainly pertains to superhero video games, that is the main topic of discussion for today. And out of everything, it currently relates to an upcoming DC project that we can expect to release, hopefully, this year. And out of the main pipeline of other massive games that are set to release within the realm of the superhero genre, there hasn't been a whole lot of news occurring lately for any of the big four, I would say, on everyone's list. And mainly, those include, of course, as you see behind me, Marvel's Spider-Man and the sequel to that game, of course, with Marvel's Spider-Man 2, most likely set to release either in 2022 or 2023, exclusively on the PS5. I have done videos about that in numerous amounts, so definitely go check those out if you've missed those. In other terms of Marvel games, we also have Marvel's Avengers, where in the latest news for that, we are set to expect the Hawkeye update of the Future Imperfect operation coming on March 18th. And of course, that update is for free, but as for how much longer the game can hold up with its overall amount of content or lack thereof that it is including within the game for a live service title, I don't really have a whole lot of confidence as to where that game currently stands, but hopefully the Hawkeye thing can turn it around once the content of the story and the overall expansion of Hawkeye's moveset can bring in some more variety to the game. Fingers crossed, but I'm still very skeptical about that title. That's for Marvel, but for DC, as you know, we also have the Rocksteady, of course the developers for the Batman Arkham series, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, set to release in 2022, and there's not that much info about that game coming out right now, but we do have some amount of time to wait until it does release next year. But currently, for this year, what we do have to look forward to for the DC side of things, and of course I know my fellow Gotham Knights buddies of Slick Moth and Salvage and Iron Gen and Luke Wayne are all super pumped for it, is none other than Gotham Knights, the video game by Warner Bros. Montreal. Of course, you guys probably know the whole story behind that game already. They're the developers behind Batman Arkham Origins. This is set to be a 2-player co-op game. You can play it single player, but you can do up to 2 players of co-op, play with the Gotham Knights, which is the Bat family of Batman's sidekicks, and defend Gotham from serious threats, one of which is, of course, the Court of Owls, and a lot of very intriguing elements as to, is Batman really dead, and what's going on within Gotham City, and of course, utilizing each and individual Gotham Knight to their own expertise and try and mix and match combos. You can also team up with a friend online, of course, and see how you can defend Gotham without the big bad bat around. That's kind of the big drawing point of it, is how can a Batman game, quote-unquote, live without Batman? And seeing how this is mainly a Bat family game instead actually intrigues me a lot in terms of its narrative. As for the gameplay itself, I need to see more of it. The small little 7-8 minute demo that we did receive of it got me intrigued, but not necessarily hyped for what the game is. It does have a lot of things going for it that is different from the previous big Batman games we received from Rocksteady, and of course Arkham Origins from Warner Bros. Montreal. But as for how this unique project stands now as its own title, it makes me intrigued to see exactly how well these developers can pull off this game in terms of its gameplay and overall structure for a brand new type of IP that isn't necessarily in the Arkham genre, but still a Batman game with a unique formula that Warner Bros. Montreal is trying to innovate with itself that is different from what Rocksteady has set forth. And that is how I feel about the game currently. For the story, though, this is what we're going to talk about today, because if you're unaware, the cast for the game has been revealed. That was obviously way back when it was first initially announced, but if you are still currently unaware as to who is voicing who, we do have our main man, Stephen Oyoung, aka Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, from Spider-Man PS4, is actually voicing none other than Jason Todd within Gotham Knights, of course that being Red Hood. And lately, there is a recent article with Steven actually diving into his overall mindset towards the game of Gotham Knights, where the story could go, as well, of course, some small little info and tidbits about his involvement with Martin Lee / Mr. Negative and bringing that character to life from Spider-Man PS4, and how he had to transition from a Marvel property and a villain like Mr. Negative into a anti-hero like Jason Todd within Gotham Knights as Red Hood. And I found it very intriguing. It actually got me more interested within Gotham Knights than what I previously was with the demo and story trailer that we saw, but based off of Steven's amazing performance as Mr. Negative within Spider-Man PS4, and seeing how much he cares about that character, and seeing how he's bringing that same amount of passion to the character of Jason Todd in Gotham Knights, actually gets me, as a fan who is obviously a fan of DC and Batman as a whole, but not a major, huge, hyped up individual for the Gotham Knights property. But hearing Steven talk about this has actually maybe switched my mindset, and hopefully it will kind of make you guys a bit more intrigued as well. Which is where this article comes in from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, stating that Stephen Oyoung is honored to play Red Hood in Gotham Knights, which I do find very intriguing as to what the entirety of the article goes over, and if you do want to read it yourself, I will leave it as a link in the description below, because it does analyze his overall background and history as an actor in movies, TV shows, and video games, which is a great track list of amazing roles in general, but seeing him talk more in depth about the character of Martin Lee slash Mr. Negative, and now how he's going into Jason Todd slash Red Hood in Gotham Knights, makes me, as a fan, very, very intrigued, more so than what I was before. So to kick off the article itself with this initial paragraph of Stephen Oyoung going over his role as Mr. Negative in Spider-Man PS4, it does go on to state playing Martin Lee was his first major video game role, and was one that he treasured not just for playing a part in the Spider-Man universe, but for helping Asian representation in major comic book projects. And as Stephen goes on to describe, the directing and writing team gave me a lot of leeway. The idea that he's the bad guy, but he's also the hero of his own story, every actor loves that. His goal is noble, but he only thought of his one objective at the expense of everyone else. He's not what we've traditionally seen Asian villains portrayed as in the mainstream media. And again, that's just a huge testament to the overall amount of narrative input and craftsmanship that Insomniac and Marvel poured into the overall adventure that was Spider-Man PS4, and making Mr. Negative's character such a compelling individual within that game's story. And of course, we don't know for sure whether or not Steven will return as Martin Lee within the inevitable sequel to Marvel's Spider-Man, but hearing him talk about the character with such passion just makes me immensely happy to see that his involvement within the game was definitely worthwhile. But moving on with the article, now transitioning into the DC spectrum of things with that of Gotham Knights, it does go on to describe saying Oyoung is jumping ship from Marvel to DC for Gotham Knights, though he wasn't sure whether his audition was a flop or a home run. And as Steven goes on to state, when I auditioned, I saw all the guys in the room and I was like, this is either really good for me or really bad for me, because everyone was like jacked. I'm talking like a WWE kind of thing. And as it turns out, Oyoung got the role, but playing Red Hood presents a much different challenge than Martin Lee. With Mr. Negative, it was nice, because there was less than a handful of portrayals, so I could really put my own spin on him. Red Hood is a huge honor, but it's also a field filled with landmines. In recent years, actors Jensen Ackles in Batman Under the Red Hood and Troy Baker in Arkham Knight have turned in what some consider to be definitive performances as Red Hood. And as Steven replies, I'm a huge fan of Under the Red Hood and of Jensen Ackles. That performance is seared into my brain. What Troy Baker was able to do in Arkham Knight, I really respect how he took the character and did his thing. I don't think people want a carbon copy clone. For me, I try to find something in between. Instead of trying to copy what came before, Oyoung is excited to introduce some new wrinkles to Red Hood's character. The creators of Gotham Knights are hyper aware that when you think of Red Hood, most people think that he's angry. Obviously, that's going to be in the performance, but he's also human too. And just to quickly highlight what Steven said within the previous paragraph, I totally agree with him that out of all the previous representations that we have seen Red Hood in within mainstream media, easily Jensen Ackles as Jason Todd slash Red Hood in Batman Under the Red Hood, the animated movie, is also my personal favorite pick. I really did like what Troy Baker did within Arkham Knight, but out of all the main roles that we have seen Red Hood in, I still think that the definitive version of that character easily goes to Jensen Ackles. Just like some people say that Josh Keaton is their definitive Spider-Man, but for like me, I think Yuri Lowenthal is my definitive pick for Peter Parker, and the same thing goes for Jensen as Red Hood within that movie. But I am very excited to see what Steven is going to bring to the table as his own Jason Todd, given the last paragraph section that we get within this article. Unlike other portrayals, this isn't Red Hood early on his career, and that may lead to a side of Red Hood that gamers haven't seen yet. It's not like he came out of the Lazarus pit yesterday. There's been some time since he's doing his thing. He's had time to process. So, what does that guy look like? I don't think we've seen something like that in this medium. While gamers await the release of Gotham Knights, Stephen Oyoung said they should be ready for a great experience. They want to win awards with this one. That's what you can expect. And that is the end of the article. So, based on what I previously described, everybody, I was pretty, I would say, on the fence about Gotham Knights. It wasn't that necessarily that the game looked bad, it's just that it didn't really grab me in the same sense that, of course, Miles Morales did, or Spider-Man PS4, or anything like that, or even the previous Arkham games, mainly relating to the DC side of the spectrum. But, based on the narrative implications that we do have from Steven as Jason Todd / Red Hood, it definitely sounds like this is going to be, again, a completely different version of the character that is nothing like we've ever seen before. That's obviously been referenced previously, since this game, Gotham Knights, is not, I will repeat, not set in the same universe as the Arkham games. That is where Suicide Squad comes in, strangely enough, where that game is in fact a continuation of the Arkham universe, since it takes place in that same game's world. But for Gotham Knights, it's a completely different game, not tied into the Arkhamverse. It's its own thing, a brand new story. Again, Batman's appeared to be dead. The Gotham Knights now have to rise up and stop the crime surrounding Gotham and the new threat that is the Court of Owls. The Gotham Knights are banding together, so of course Dick Grayson Nightwing, Tim Drake Robin, Barbara Gordon Batgirl, and now is Jason Todd Red Hood. So seeing that Suicide Squad is going to be the game that pertains more to Rocksteady's Arkham universe, and Warner Bros. Montreal is letting their own wings fly pretty much with their unique take on the Batman universe with Gotham Knights, since that does not relate to Rocksteady's world at all, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how Warner Bros. Montreal is going to fully flesh out and individualize Jason Todd amongst the other Gotham Knights, since he has a pretty much more darker backstory compared to the other heroes on the team, especially since, as what Steven was describing, that this is not a Red Hood early in his career. This has been a Red Hood who's been like this for a while, and which makes me very intrigued to see where that goes even further, due to the fact that, if you don't know, it was stated by Warner Bros. Montreal that apparently Red Hood, even though he has guns, is shooting out non-lethal rounds, meaning he's not killing anyone when he's obviously shooting his firearms. So usually that's kind of like the big draw, is that Red Hood is more of like a, intense version of Batman who's willing to do what Batman will not, is get rid of the scum infecting Gotham. But now, seeing that he's kind of, I'm assuming, been on the team for quite some time, he has kind of, I guess, reconciled with the other Gotham Knights, and now he's kind of doing things a more just way, is going to be very encapsulating to see where the narrative goes even further down the line once we start to uncover the mystery behind the Court of Owls and how the other Gotham Knights interact with one another. Maybe, Tim Drake and Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon, are they on good terms with Jason now, or are they a bit, kind of hesitant to trust him on the team, or how is that going to flesh out? And seeing how Steven's portrayal of the character is going to bring him to life within this game's story makes me as a fan all the more excited. So, anyways guys, that is the small little video I have for you today relating to Gotham Knights narrative, not necessarily the gameplay or anything like that. Of course, there's been some leaks and possible rumors that the game could release in summer of 2021, mainly in July. We will wait and see. Again, I'm not really too hyped for it right now, but hearing this does make me at least more interested to see where the story could go, fleshing out the other characters on the team, and seeing how Batman might, have some role in this, if he's really dead or not dead, and if Jason discovers that or something with the other teammates on the Gotham Knights, how will that narrative play out further once they have to encounter the Court of Owls and the other threats plaguing Gotham. So, I'm very intrigued. I thought it'd be fun to discuss this. It's not necessarily Marvel news or Spider-Man news, but since Steven had an amazing role as Martin Lee / Mr. Negative in Spider-Man PS4, that's already a great sign to tell you that he's going to knock this role out of the park, only if, though, the writers over at Warner Bros. Montreal can deliver a really grand and engaging story that shows why the Gotham Knights, each individual on the team, Red Hood, Robin, Batgirl, and Nightwing, are so special, and what makes them different from, of course, Batman himself. Maybe by the end of Gotham Knights, you might love Red Hood, Robin, Nightwing, or Batgirl more so than how you did when playing Batman during the Arkham games or anything like that. So that is what engages me most within all these games, is the story, how the narrative can flesh out the characters even further, and seeing how Steven feels reassured that they feel confident in delivering a really great experience for the fans to enjoy, hoping to get some awards for their efforts, making a new, fresh take on the Batman lore/universe, is very cool to see. And it's cool that they're taking a new direction of it, and I just really hope that it can pay off for DC and Warner Bros. And, of course, Steven and the other actors playing these characters in the long run. But with all that said, everyone, let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you excited for Gotham Knights? Are you a bit hesitant or skeptical? Or do you want to see more gameplay of it like myself before you can make like an actual judgment call on it? Let me know all your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. And until next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans, and stay awesome, DC fans. More videos to come. Stay tuned. Peace out.